Hello, dear students. In today's lesson, we're going to move and we're going to leave aside a little bit the written text and written discourse, and we will move on to in a different uh, format. This is spoken discourse, right? All the interaction that we may have within a conversation, speech, right? A radio talk, a radio show, a conversation, a monologue, a dialogue, any interaction that we may have um, spoken. Um, for this spoken discourse, we will be analyzing some conversational maxims stated by Paul Grease in 1975, sorry. Um, and we will mainly focus on these four maxims and which we will be using them for doing spoken discourse analysis. This is a really easy topic to handle. Just pay attention to the information that I will be providing with along the presentation, and at the end I will be giving you some examples on when these maxims or these conversational maxims are violated in a real conversation or in an elaborated conversation as we may have in today's lesson. So first of all, just to remind what we have done so far, as you can see on the screen, right? The definition of language and discourse analysis. Then we moved into the language, context, and text, and then we move on to the features of context of situation, field, tenor, and mode. We also went over the analysis of mini text, right? And finally, last week we stopped by and study something related to the patterns of our text organization, right? As we could actually study last week. And today we will start talking about the cooperative principle. Sorry about the information in the slide, but it looks like this in this format and the program that I'm using to record this video tutorial. But we can easily see also, as well the main information, which is the important part. So I was telling you that we will start talking about the cooperative principle, and this cooperative principle is encircled by the author Paul Grease, right? In a single sentence, make your conversational contribution what is required at the stage at which it occurs by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. And to understand more this in depth, I will be detailing the information step by step, and the author actually divided the information and this cooperative principle into four maxims. These are also known or called the Grease maxims. These maxims are part of the interaction that takes place based on the four principles or four maxims. The first maxim is called maxim of quantity, and this maxim of quantity, right? I just want you to while we're studying the four maxims, I want you to place your mind or your thoughts on a real conversation, right, that we may have daily with a friend, with a relative, or with any other person that we usually talk to, right? So we can actually apply what I'll be saying. So this maxim of quantity is framed into two aspects. The first one, make your contribution as informative as required. And the second one, don't make your contribution more informative than is required. In other words, what the author wants to tell us here, guys, is that in a conversation, for example, we as participants or interactors in a conversation, we should follow these maxims, so the communication seems to be or looks more effectively, right? Sometimes in a daily conversation, we are asked something and we end up giving more information. Sometimes it's also part of the culture, right? Sometimes, um, but it happens in every culture, I guess, and depending on the personalities as well, right? We meet people who is very talkative, but we also meet people who barely talk, right? Um, and probably they apply this maxim really well. In our regional context, right? Probably we find people who you ask their names, what's your name, and they end up telling you what they did yesterday night, what the place where they work, the place where they live. I don't know, like some extra information that probably they were not asked, but they provide the information just because they feel like it, right? However, that interrupts the communication, the interaction, and probably may cause some other situations that are not meant to happen in the interaction. So don't give more information than the one that you are required. That's one of that's the first maxim of quantity. Okay. Then we have the maxim of quality, and this one has a title, Be Trustful, right? And the two aspects. Number one, don't say what you believe to be false, and don't say what you lack adequate evidence for. This is really nice because of well, I mean, culture affects these maxims, right? Depending on the context where when we are moving. For example, here in Monteria, in Colombia, we tend to say what actually we believe it's false, and sometimes we communicate information that we don't have adequate evidence for. And this is what we call also in communication gossip. In our context, we call gossip. We have a lot of gossip people who use false information to actually repeat that information just because they heard it or from someone else, or just because they want just to introduce a topic and that's it, right? So this second maxim of quality. Okay, so use trustful information for communicating and not false information. Then we have a third maxim, which is maxim of relation or maxim of relevance. This one is really short in terms of the definition. It says only be relevant. I would say also be coherent to the context where the conversation or the spoken interaction is taking place, right? Sometimes we jump from one topic to the other one without, I'd say, asking permission to the other participants, right? We're talking about the party that we had yesterday, but somebody and suddenly moved or jumped into or float into a different topic, okay? And that usually happens in conversations and spoken discourse. And it is here when we can identify that somebody in the interaction is violating, that's the actually the definition, it's violating the maxim of relevance or relation. Here we have the fourth maxim of manner. Sorry about the title, but in brief, you will see the four maxims. This maxim of manner contains four aspects, right? Number one, avoid obscurity of expression, and this is really common in our context as well. It seems to be that the author could do like a really good study and research on the culture to determine or to get to the conclusion on these four maxims, right? Because at the end, culture and context are going to determine the violation of these maxims in conversational uh, situations. So avoid obscurity of expression. It is something that occurs in conversation when one of the participants is leading the conversation to like uh, to I'd say to a point that the participant wants the other participants to be looking at. So, for example, we're talking about the university, but somebody is leading the conversation to the politics or to the religions or to the uh, sometimes this sexual part or some other probably being rude, like leading the conversation to a very obscure part. Obscure not because it's dark, but because it's the only point the participant wants to take the conversation to. Okay, so that's something that we should avoid. Obscurity of expression, like giving like a dark sense to the conversation or a dark meaning to the conversation, but in terms of moving the conversation into a topic that the participant wants all the participants to be involved with. And we know a lot of people who does this, right? Always like talking about something, but ending up uh, talking about religion or politics or I don't know, like environmental issues, for example, or things like that. It says here that obscurity it's a thing that it's unclear or difficult to understand, right? Sometimes it's also related to the double sense that people give to the conversation, right? But double sense addressed to a point, right? In our context and culture, it happens when somebody wants to lead the conversation to a sexual part, for example, and it's always playing jokes and giving like a double sense to the meaning, and so all the participants move to that part. Okay, we have a second aspect here, which is avoid ambiguity. Ambiguity it's setting two different contexts, setting two different meanings, but not leading the participants to one of them. Just probably when the participants are not clear with the information they are providing, but because probably they don't use the correct words or probably the situation itself, the context of situation, it's not being clear as well. And we know what we call ambiguity, ambiguidad, right? Like the information is actually divided into two parts with two directions, two senses, two meanings. Then we have number 3, be brief. It says in parentheses, avoid unnecessary prolixity. Be brief, it's going straight to the point. Sometimes we give or we use a lot of words to say one thing and we go around the bushes. We repeat the information and we go to the beginning and then go to the middle of the conversation and then to the end and then to the beginning again. Like we're not being brief. And the aspect number 4, it says be orderly. Be orderly. Probably you cannot see it that well, but that's what it says there. Be orderly. So and this is connected to with the idea of having an order in the conversation, right? Sometimes we meet people who jumps from one part to the other one, like jumping, and you don't see like a clear organization in the ideas. You don't see like a clear format, I'd say, in the topics they are talking about, or probably when you're listening to a lecture, for example, listening to an explanation, and you're jumping from one topic to the other one, so there is not an order in the conversation. In other words, here we have maxim of quantity, say what you're asked and not something different. Maxim of quality, do not say what you believe to be false. This is like a summary. Maxim of relevance or relation, be coherent to the context. And maxim of manner, be clear with the information. Now I would like to go over a video. Give me a second. Okay, I will present a video where the four maxims are violated, but they go over one by one. So they explain in what situations, right, each of the maxims is violated. I will try to explain when it's necessary, so pay attention. This is taken from the four scenes are taken from a really known TV series called The Big Bang Theory. Probably you have heard of it or watched it before. So pay attention to the four maxims. They're gonna go one by one, as I told you before, so pay attention.
Doing some checking on the ring.
Hold on, Sheldon, is that ketchup on the table?
Yes, there is. But here's a fun fact. Ketchup started out as a general term for sauce, typically made of mushrooms or fish brine with herbs and spices. Some popular early main ingredients included blueberry, anchovy, oyster, kidney bean, and grape.
No, that's okay, I'll get it.
As you can see there is a conversation between these guys, and one of them asks the other one to pass the ketchup, but then the other participant resulted to, like giving extra information more than the one he was required. Actually, he was not required to give any information, just to pass the ketchup, right? And the other guy is like talking about how the ketchup was made and the ingredients and probably some extra information that it's not connected to the question or to the request that he was made. Let's go with number 2.
Leonard, a moment.
What?
If someone, and of course we don't know who this would be, does ask where you've gone, what should I say?
I don't know, just tell him I went to the office.
Are you going to the office?
No.
How can I say it convincingly?
Just say, Leonard went to the office.
All right. Leonard went to the office.
No, not like that. Just Leonard went to the office.
This would have worked out a lot better if you just told me you were going to the office.
I'm going to the office.
See, why didn't I believe you? Doesn't anyone want to know where he's going?
Okay, where is he going?
Leonard is going to the office.
Okay, in this maxim that we just watched, right? Somebody in the conversation, in the interaction, is using false information, right? That lead us to identify that maxim is being violated.
Benny, are you experiencing some sort of difficulty?
Yes, I can't get my stupid door open.
You appear to have put your car key in the door lock. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
All right then.
Damn it.
Would it be possible for you to do this a little more quietly?
I can't get the damn key out.
It's not surprising. That Baldwin lock on your door uses traditional edge-mounted cylinders, whereas the key for your Volkswagen uses a center cylinder system.
Thank you, Sheldon.
You're welcome. Point of inquiry, why did you put your car key in the door lock?
Why? I'll tell you why. Because today I had an audition. It took me 2 hours to get there. I waited an hour for my turn, and before I could even start, they told me I looked too Midwest for the part. Too Midwest? What the hell does that even mean?
Well, the American Midwest was mostly settled by Scandinavian and Germanic peoples. They have a characteristic facial
I know what it means, Sheldon! God!
Okay, in the preview, in the maxim that you just watched, right? There is one of the participants violating the maxim of relevance because of he's not being coherent to the context. He's not being relevant actually to the interaction that probably they may be having at the moment of communicating each other.
I want to build a road, but I need wood. Either of you fellas have wood? I don't understand the laughter. The object of Settlers of Catan is to build roads and settlements. To do so requires wood. Now, I have sheep. I need wood. Who has wood for my sheep? Now, where were we? Oh, yes. Does anyone have any wood? Come on. I just want wood. Why are you making it so hard? And now that I have some wood, I'm going to begin the erection of my settlement. He's going to be doing this on purpose. Now, back to our game. So you were in the middle of an erection? Oh, of course, it's right here in my hand.
Okay, very good. As you can see here, the maxim of manner is being violated because of many situations. First of all, there is ambiguity. Although one of the participants does not realize he's being ambiguous, right? But the other two, they do, and they take it as a double sense, double meaning. Of course, there is obscurity of expression because they, as you could see, they are relating the information and the interaction. They are trying to address the topic into a sexual or kind of morbo, right? Sense. So probably that's what we call also obscurity of expression. There is no order in the information. They are just talking about the game and then talking about the other thing, talking about the ambiguity. Like there is no like an order in this or a sequence in the information. Finally, I invite you to go to Cynthia. There in the resources, you will find a video, right, where there is you will find a video that you will have to do analysis on, and you will need to write like a report on the maxims that you consider are being violated in that video, in that conversation, right, and give an explanation on why do you consider such maxims are being violated in the interaction. Remember, you have to upload that report along this week, and besides, there is another video that I uploaded in their resources for you to have more information, right? And I also uploaded the slides in Cynthia. So you have a lot of resources, you have a lot of information, and I hope I was clear with the explanation that I just gave you in this video tutorial. If you have any question, do not hesitate in contacting me. Thank you guys.